There's some very rich and powerful people that need to go to jail. I think everyone's been frustrated as to why that hasn't happened before. But it is very much so a possibility that Jeffrey Epstein was a intelligence asset working for our adversaries. But also, too, I think the questions that we have is how much did our own government know about it?
Wow, you just heard that. That was Republican Congresswoman Paulina Luna, who went further than any other lawmaker on Capitol Hill yesterday, demonstrating her willingness to suggest that Jeffrey Epstein was possibly working with a foreign intelligence agency. Now, you all know what I think about that. I am inclined to believe it. However, her comments came on the same day the House Oversight Committee tried yet again to pull a fast one on the American people by releasing tens of thousands of Epstein-related records, including flight logs and court filings, which sounds pretty good, right? That's what we want. Except that the overwhelming majority of those documents were already in the public record. Like, do they think we're stupid? Like, do they think like no one's gonna go through the 33,000 documents that they're releasing and figure out that they had already been released? It's insane. So here's what Democratic Representative Ro Khanna told MSNBC last week when the DOJ first released the documents to the committee.
We're up all night, and we now have a fact that only 3% of the documents that were given to us were new. 97% were already in the public domain. And less than 1% of the Epstein files have actually been released. The Epstein files are 300 gigabits. We know this because that's what the FBI has said. And they've released less than 1 gigabit. So they've released less than 1%. And of the less than 1% they've released, 97% is still in the public record. Bottom line, they're stonewalling and not releasing things.
Okay, so that's what Ro Khanna said last week, right? The DOJ gave the House Oversight Committee documents that were already in the public record. And then the House Oversight Committee releases those same documents, which were already in the public record. So Representative Robert Garcia, ranking member of the House Oversight Committee, said a new disclosure in Tuesday's release is less than 1,000 pages from the Customs and Border Protection's log of flight locations of the Epstein plane from 2000 to 2014 and forms consistent with reentry back to the United States. The 33,000 pages of Epstein documents James Comer has decided to release were already mostly public information. To the American people, don't let this fool you. Don't worry, I am not fooled. So that's why lawmakers like Ro Khanna and Thomas Massie, so you have a Democrat and a libertarian who caucuses with the Republicans, are holding the DOJ and the Trump administration's feet to the fire. So here is Massie taking a direct shot at the Trump White House.
I think the best way to clear President Trump's name is to release all the files. I actually don't think he's done anything criminal. I think he may be covering for some rich and powerful people that are friends of his. And in fact, some of those billionaires are running ads against me in Kentucky right now. One of them is in Epstein's black book. So we're getting close to the center of power here. And I think, embarrassment is not a reason to conceal all of this stuff. We've got to get it out in the open, regardless of whose friends might be incriminated.
Look, usually when you see media figures saying laudable things about bipartisanship on Capitol Hill, it's usually because there's a corporatist Democrat and a corporatist Republican working together to screw you. This is actually one of the few and rare cases where you have a bipartisan effort to do the right thing. And I really do love it. Like, it warms my heart, even though it has to do with, these two horrific people, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, who were child predators, did unspeakable, disgusting things. The fact that you have, members of both sides of the political aisle coming together, demanding justice, demanding transparency, on behalf of the American people is a really, really good thing. And look, Massie's not just talking the talk, he's also walking the walk. Earlier on the House floor on Tuesday, Massie formally filed a discharge petition. Now, what is that? A procedural tool to bypass GOP leadership and force a vote on a measure to compel the Justice Department to publicly release the Epstein files. So Massie and Khanna just need at least 218 signatures, that's half the members of the House, in order to force this vote. And Khanna says that he's certain that all 212 Democrats will absolutely sign on, along with at least 6 other Republicans. But Speaker Mike Johnson and other GOP leaders are opposed to the vote. I wonder why. Why are they opposed to the vote? They argue that it's not needed because the House Oversight Committee, which is, increasingly appearing to be part of this cover up, is investigating the matter. Nothing to see here. They're investigating the matter. Okay, yeah. Now, Donald Trump is doing everything that he can to essentially stand in Massie's way, including his favorite tactic of public condemnation. Here's a clip from the Oval Office from just this morning.
Thomas Massie, who is sponsoring a discharge petition to get the House to vote on releasing the documents, says he doesn't believe you're implicated in these files, but many of your friends and donors may be, and he says that's why the Justice Department is redacting them and slow-walking the release. Is the Justice Department protecting any friends or donors, sir?
So this is a Democrat hoax that never ends. It reminds me a little of the Kennedy situation. We gave him everything over and over again, more and more and more, and nobody's ever satisfied. From what I understand, I could check, but from what I understand, thousands of pages of documents have been given. But it's really a Democrat hoax because they're trying to get people to talk about something that's totally irrelevant to the success that we've had as a nation since I've been president.
Is it a Democrat hoax when you have Republicans wanting the release of the Epstein files? Is it a Democrat hoax when your base, which of course consists of Republican voters, patriotic Americans, want the release and the transparency of the Epstein files? I don't know. Seems like Trump is backed into a corner here. And it is interesting that he brought up the Kennedy files in the context of this weird argument that he's making about how this is just a Democrat hoax. It's not, and people deserve justice. Obviously, the victims deserve justice. The American people deserve transparency, and we absolutely should figure out, without a shadow of a doubt, whether or not Jeffrey Epstein was engaged in blackmail operations on behalf of intelligence organizations, whether it's the CIA, Mossad, or any other intelligence organization. Now, a White House official also commented on this discharge petition in the House, saying that helping Thomas Massie and liberal Democrats with their attention seeking, while the DOJ is fully supporting a more comprehensive file release effort from the Oversight Committee, would be viewed as a very hostile act to the administration. I really want to know what's in those files. And more importantly, I want to know what exactly changed with Donald Trump, where he was willing to push back against certain foreign leaders like, Benjamin Netanyahu. He was willing to stop going to war with the Houthis, for instance. He wasn't willing to engage in a hot war with Iran. And then something happened. Suddenly he did a 180 and became Netanyahu's bitch. I want to know why. Is there something in the Epstein files that's, maybe persuading Donald Trump to act a certain way? I have no idea, but it sucks to even have these questions at the top of mind, right? Now, that brings us to an unlikely opponent to Donald Trump, and that opponent happens to be Marjorie Taylor Greene, who continues to surprise me, I gotta be honest with you. So the Congresswoman is usually a diehard backer of President Trump's, but today during a press conference where victims of Epstein spoke out, she took a clear shot at the Trump administration.
This is the most important fight we can wage here in Congress, is fighting for innocent people that never received justice. And the women behind me have never received justice. And do you want to know why? It's because Jeffrey Epstein somehow was able to walk among the most rich, powerful people, not only in America, but foreign countries. The truth needs to come out, and the government holds the truth. The cases that are sealed hold the truth. Jeffrey Epstein's estate holds the truth. The FBI, the DOJ, and the CIA holds the truth. And the truth we're demanding come out.
Hell yes. That was amazing. And I love the fact that she is willing to fight on behalf of the victims, on behalf of the American people who want to know, despite the fact that it will definitely attract Donald Trump's ire. That's strength. That's being a leader. And I gotta be honest, I didn't expect it from Marjorie Taylor Greene. I thought she was always gonna be like a lapdog for Donald Trump. But she has proven herself to be a fighter specifically on this matter, and she deserves respect for that. Now, our members have a lot to say about this story, including Tugging the Tubin, who says Kash Patel was highlighting some sex trafficking work he did today, which feels like he's laughing in our faces with the Epstein files or lists still outstanding. They're doing everything they can to kind of distract or give Americans like some red meat that might, placate them. But this has been, look, the thing about the Trump administration and Trump himself when it comes to his campaigning, there was a lot of focus on the deep state. And so there are a lot of theories about how Epstein was working on behalf of the deep state. So when you renege on promises made, and when it's clear that those promises are not kept, yeah, that's gonna direct a lot of ire toward the Trump administration, which isn't following through on what was promised, right? And then on top of that, I mean, all we've seen from the Trump administration is one foible after another that makes it clear that they're covering something up. So even for Americans who didn't think that there was anything, additionally nefarious about what was going on with Jeffrey Epstein, outside of him being a disgusting child sex predator, all of a sudden they're like, wait, it certainly looks like the Trump administration is covering something up. What is going on here? So Pam Bondi seems to be an idiot. First there was the little binders stunt that she did with conservative influencers, and then it just got worse from there. So it is depressing that people like Pam Bondi have worked their way up to the highest echelons of power here in the US, but here we are. I'm just really happy that Americans are waking up to the lies and they're calling Trump administration officials out for it.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.